Jeff McCarthy reporting to you from Moscow, Russia, right? Just attended the 33rd annual Moscow International Film Festival for Transformers Dark of the Moon. Right behind me, Linkin Park playing right now. Coming up next, my interviews with the cast of the film, including Shia LaBeouf, John Malkovich, and Patrick Dempsey. Stay tuned.
Our entire space race of the 1960s was in response to an event.
How much pressure did you feel coming into a franchise like this? I mean, this is a huge franchise.
Yeah.
I think like made over a couple $2 billion the first two movies. You know, and you're taking over a role that we've known for the past two movies. How much pressure did you feel? Were you nervous or were you excited about that?
I was really nervous and I was really excited, and I knew when I accepted the offer that I had, you know, it was going to be the challenge of my life, and it was going to be the hardest I'd ever worked. And there was a lot of pressure. I mean, you're coming in on a franchise that has an enormous fan base, and fans expect a lot from you. My only, the thing that really got me through it was the fact that I was able to come in and work on a new character and bring her to life. And, you know, it was so last minute me starting on this movie that, you know, she really came alive on set, and Michael really wanted to, you know, to keep my British accent and work around my strengths. And so it was a lot of fun, that part. And I feel blessed because I know that it would have been a lot different had I been reprising, you know, the Michaela role.
Right, and it's a completely different role, but
Yeah.
and you did a fantastic job, and
Thanks.
congratulations to
Thank
you. And
you.
the movie's fantastic. I mean, the 3D was unbelievable.
I haven't seen it in 3D.
You gotta go
yet.
see it in 3D.
We'll
We'll go on a date. We'll go a date and see it in 3D.
Okay.
I got that. That was good.
If you breathe a word of what you've seen here, it will do time for treason.
Everything humans know of our planet, we were told, had been shared. You lied to us. You've made a grave mistake.
And you've gone on record, and you've actually said that you weren't happy with the second film. And I know you've been talking about this a lot recently. What did you learn from the second movie that you were able to make yourself improve on in this movie? And because you actually said yesterday on the carpet, like, you weren't happy when you finished two.
Sure.
You didn't want to go out. You weren't excited. So
Sure.
what is it about this one that you learned from the second one?
I mean, you know, I equate it to, like, you know, I saw a documentary before I left, Heart of Darkness, where Francis Ford Coppola is shooting Apocalypse Now. And he looks in the camera about 20 minutes into the movie, and he says, he's in the jungles, and he's frenetic, and his eyes are red, and he's on the verge of tears. This is a movie he's been prepping for 12 years. This was gonna be the movie that started American Zoetrope. It was a major movie. He'd been working on it for 12 years, knew exactly the movie he wanted to make, and he looks into the camera about maybe 2-3 weeks after being in there, in the Philippines, and he says, I have too much money, I have too much crew, I have no script, and I'm gonna shoot myself in the head. And that's sort of like where we were at in the second movie, you know? We were given a date, we were given a bunch of money, we were given a bunch of toys, and we had no script. And it was a writer's strike, so you couldn't get one if you wanted one. So we were writing on the fly, and you know, we weren't making a movie to make a good movie, we were making a movie to hit a date. And we didn't go about it this way, this time. And I think you sort of needed the second movie to be received the way it was, to propel everybody who showed up on this set to give it what they gave it. All the mistakes that we learned, like for instance, just the geography, like simple things, you know. I think the movie has to be simplified. When movies get complicated, they become shit. And like the second movie was so complicated. You're in Egypt and you're through a wormhole, and you're in Cancun, and you know where you are. You don't know who's fighting who. You know, here's this animatronic elbow hitting this animatronic face, but you're so tight in on it, you don't know who it is. You don't know who the villain and who the hero is. You don't know what the spear of what. I mean, you just get confused. And when you get confused, you can't enjoy anything. And so really, like, Mike's main point coming to this was sort of simplification of everything. Definitely the geography. He basically said, I want to make Transformers Black Hawk Down. You know, and that's sort of what he tried to do in the last hour. Sort of the geography is built the same way. All that urban fighting, you know where you are. It's the first time where you literally have humans fighting robots eye to eye level. You know, like he figured out the altitude changes, and it's the most beautiful action he's ever orchestrated, I think.
movie, you have a great scene in Bumblebee. I won't give it away, but it's hilarious watching you play with him. Acting with something that's not there. I mean, you've acted with so many great actors throughout your career and so many great performances. And I'm not just saying that, I just think you're a brilliant actor.
Thank you, sir.
Is it harder for you to do that, or was it easier? And what were you looking at?
Okay, if the question is, would I rather act with Shia or the robot,
Yeah.
then I'd rather act with Shia,
With Shia, okay.
Turturro or
Right.
Rosie. But when you're an actor, movies have such strange and often stringent sort of technical demands and requirements that you kind of find yourself doing that all the time.
Right.
And this, now the technology is so good that they can kind of work around you in a way.
Right.
Maybe not wholly or fully, but rather than just you always are running a 360 around this effect, now they can kind of adapt it to you. So for me, it wasn't hard. Michael knew exactly what he wanted, what he wanted to see done, and how it would come out. So, he was a few steps ahead.
Years from now, they're gonna ask, where were you when they took over the planet?
You'll be fine, I promise. It's over. I'm sorry, but it's over.
I need some advice from you.
I'm listening.
I need some lady advice later on, but for right now, how do I look cool in slow motion? I want to look cool in slow-mo. Give me some tips.
Well, if you're wearing shorts, you gotta have baby oil on your legs.
Baby oil?
Baby oil.
I like
really
that.
Turns it up.
Okay.
It adds a different type of nuance
Okay.
to what you're doing.
I think anything looks cool in slow-mo. Like, you could wash your hands in slow motion, and just dry them off. It would look epic in slow motion. What would you want to do in slow motion in your real life if you could put one thing in slow motion?
I was about to say something, but it's just too hot for TV.
Just say it, we'll beep it out.
No, I can't do it.
I think I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah,
I think I know
but
exactly
I
what
was
you're
gonna say, I mean, there is a way to do that in slow motion.
Yeah.
Because slow motion inherently makes you look cool.
I know. You could do you could wash your hands in slow motion.
Yeah, and it's like
the water's like dripping. No, exactly.
See?
I like that. You know what? I'm gonna do that.
yes, then you have water like
Yeah.
off the fingertips. Yeah.
Your character in the movie, without giving anything away, it's
Right.
different than anything else you ever played.
Yes.
If we could just say that.
Yeah, definitely. I get to show a different side, which is fun.
Right, and you were mentioning as an actor though, do you sometimes get pigeonholed into a certain character in your career and you want to play something different? Is that?
Oh, absolutely.
How
yeah.
liberating was this for you then?
A lot, really.
Yeah.
The most fun I've had in a long time. And also, you wake up really excited because you're like, okay, I really get a chance to test something out here and do something new and keep it fresh for myself and for hopefully other people. And, you really have to show people that you can do something else before they believe it. You need to prove it. And it was really nice that Michael allowed me the opportunity to be a part of this movie.
You may lose your faith in us, but never in yourselves. From here, the fight will be your own.
There's these great scenes where you're doing interviews. I love that montage, and my favorite one was obviously with John Malkovich in the film, which is an amazing sequence. Do you remember? I know you've been acting since you were very young, but do you remember like your first like real job interview? I mean, I know you. I mean, obviously an audition would be a job interview.
Yeah.
So like, do you remember like how nervous you were for a particular audition or a job interview?
Oh yeah, man. I remember, my first auditions. I used to I'd get there like 2 hours early. I would lie to all the other people sitting in the waiting room and tell them that I had already booked the role and I was there to do chemistry tests with the other actors. And actors would get up and leave the waiting room, and so it was just like mine by trial by fire, sort of. I was like the only guy there to audition, so they had to hire me. I would do things like that, and I was very competitive. Like some guys go to auditions and they're like, "Hey man, good to see you again." And you sort of see everybody at every audition. I was never friendly to anybody. It was sort of like, "Look, we're after the same, have the same piece of meat, dude. Go sit over and leave me alone.
Look where you are now.
Yeah, I mean,
in one of the biggest movies of all time. I want to say, I love the beginning when Shia's character is looking for a job, and,
Yeah.
and you're kind of telling me he needs to pay his dues
Yeah.
in order to get where he wants in
Yeah.
life. Do you think, like, you know, the modeling aspect that you did, was that you paying your dues to land this massive
Yeah, that's
role?
a really interesting way of looking at it, actually. It's a great question. You know, I feel really lucky for landing this role, but I also feel really lucky that I had a professional career for 8 years, and I've worked really, really hard throughout my modeling career, and a lot of time without reward. And you know, there was some really tough times for me, and I do feel like that was a way of paying my dues, because I know that there's a lot of actresses that go through years and years and years before they land a movie. So that's, you know, my way of looking at it, I suppose. Although doing a movie like this, you still work hard.
Right?
You
No,
still
no.
have juice
And I'm not saying that.
No,
you
I
did
know.
Phenomenal.